Dell OptiPlex is a famous office desktop which is all over eBay in today's day and age. Many YouTubers such as ETA Prime and LTT have shown that if you add a graphics card to one of these ancient machines, then you can get some great gaming performance. However, these videos were released years ago, so is the Dell OptiPlex still worth it in 2025? Here's my OptiPlex. It boasts a 4th generation i5 clocked at 3.20 GHz, an 80 plus bronze 500 watt power supply, RX 580 to 1048 SP GPU with 8 gigs of VRAM and 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM clocked at 1600 MHz. Daily tasks such as web browsing on the system is very easy. With a few tabs open plus Word open, the experience is seamless and fast and is still great to use to get some solid work done, even today. We are testing 6 games, starting from easy, then increasing in difficulty to run. These 6 games are Valorant, CS2, Grid Legends, Forza Horizon 5, Detroit, Become Human, and Marvel Rivals. From the short time that I was in the range, I got a high FPS of 145 on average, but that was short-lived as I got kicked out for not having secure boot and TPM 2.0. This is one of the issues of having a system as old as this, but if you try hard enough, you might be able to get around this problem. Because of the goofy anti-cheat, I can't use the overlay here or get any FPS readings, so you will have to judge the gameplay for yourself. The gameplay felt smooth and was on a medium, high, mix, plus FSR set to balanced. As you can see on the FPS graph, the FPS is very inconsistent, having large peaks and troughs, even though it had an average FPS of 61. However, the game is still perfectly playable at a medium-high mix of settings. The game runs smoothly with medium settings. Driving around showed virtually no issues. However, I have really noticed that the textures and looks of the game on medium are somewhat lackluster. I would recommend bumping the settings up to high, even though it will have an impact on performance and may cause an inconsistent 60 FPS on a system like this. There is an average FPS of 82.4 with 1% lows of 16.8 FPS. With medium settings, there is an average FPS of 51.4 with 1% lows of 27.7 FPS. Bumping up the settings to high, there is an average FPS of 48.9 with 1% lows of 26.3. This can vary with different scenes in the game, but this game still runs great, even with this hardware. Moving on, looking at the Steam page for Marvel Rivals, you can see that we just meet the GPU minimum requirements, and we don't meet the CPU minimum requirements. Despite this, I was met with a pleasant surprise. Whilst this is on all the lowest settings, with FSR set to ultra performance, I got an average FPS of 58.6 with 1% lows of 3.7. Whilst it ran smooth most of the time, there was the occasional stutter, but it was still perfectly playable. Using Parsec has been a great experience with this machine. My old laptop upstairs has little issues entering the OptiPlex for some remote gaming. Unfortunately, the screen recording on my laptop turned out to be very laggy, even though I only saw a few stutters on the actual stream. Nevertheless, this smooth gameplay is achieved with a download speed of 43.32 megabits per second, but the OptiPlex has Ethernet with a download speed of roughly 150 on average. The Premiere Pro editing experience is sluggish. Editing 4K footage on this machine shows its age, struggling to play back the footage with basic text and transitions. Rendering this small segment creates a horrendous output video with severe artifacts and stuttering. Overall, the OptiPlex is still a great budget build in 2025 when people want a cheap system that will still give great gaming performance in most titles. However, in new releases, this machine is unlikely to meet the minimum system requirements. This is one of the issues of upgrading a PC like this, as there is no future proofing for newer games, and there is virtually no upgrade path, which makes it a poor long-term choice. Also, the RX 580 is no longer receiving driver updates, with the latest release of drivers released on the 20th of March of last year, so games will eventually drop proper support for this GPU. However, this shines as a TV PC, which is great if you want to use Steam Big Picture mode to just sit back and play some games whilst also working brilliantly with Parsec. If you are on a very tight budget, this build is still a viable option in 2025, but if you have more headroom, get a Xeon system with a newer GPU like an RX 5500. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is the first time that I have edited on Premiere Pro, so I have a lot to learn, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Please leave me feedback on what I can do to make this content better below, and have a great day.